What's going on, you guys? So, I mean, I pretty much called it. I knew once Terence Crawford beat Canelo Alvarez that there was going to be a lot of people coming out with excuses for Canelo Alvarez for why he loses the fight. And sure enough, you know, it's not even a week past when the fight happened, right? Like, it just happened last weekend, but I mean, we're Thursday right now. So what is that? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 5 days. We're 5 days past the fight, and we're seeing a lot of people come out now making excuses for Canelo Alvarez. And Canelo is getting all this praise for, you know, not making excuses, right? People are saying, oh, he's, you know, accepted the loss like a man, like a champion, you know, but in the post-fight interview, he says he just physically couldn't do anything. He wanted to, but he physically couldn't respond to what Terence Crawford, you know, was bringing in the ring. You know, and I'm paraphrasing here, but I can't recall exactly what he said, but he said something along those lines where his body just told him no. He just couldn't do it no more, right? And that's exactly what we've heard from multiple people now. Boxing experts, boxing pundits, trainers, you know, fighters have come out and, you know, defended Canelo Alvarez. And it's funny enough that some of these guys that are defending him now were actually picking Canelo Alvarez to win this fight. You know, one of them being Jose Benavidez Sr., who's just a complete hater through and through. He came out right before the fight happened and said, oh, Bud's too small, he's a little guy, and, you know, the fight's going to look like the Charlo fight with Canelo, and, you know, he may get stopped or whatever, he might be on his bike, you know, he's not no Floyd Mayweather. He said a lot of things, right? But he's one of the first ones to come out and say, you know what, Canelo Alvarez, he's just had some wars, you know, he even said his body couldn't respond to what he quoted Canelo and what he said at the press conference, right? He defended Canelo, which is very surprising because he obviously hates on Canelo too, because his son never got the opportunity to step in the ring with Canelo. Terence Crawford did. You know, Lonnie, I don't even know this dude's name. What's his name? Lonnie B. A guy I've seen, you know, pop up on, you know, a couple boxing YouTube channels throughout the years. You know, I believe he's a former, or, you know, he might be even a current fighter, super middleweight. I looked him up on BoxRec some time ago, but the dude's a bum. He picked Canelo to win the fight. And here we are. You know, he does a video reacting to the fight. He says, you know, Canelo's just overrated. He just really wasn't that good. And he just, you know, was a very popular fighter, and he got, you know, everything handed to him, right? Defending Canelo, you know, taking away from Terence Crawford's win. And what, it doesn't surprise me at all, because like I said, I called it. But Stephen Breadman Edwards came out, you know, and said, oh man, he's just had too many wars, you know, he's had around 70 fights, you know, he's been fighting for 20 years, blah, 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 and this, that, and the other. Which I don't know what Stephen Breadman Edwards, you know, reasoning for trying to discredit his win would be. Maybe it's because Caleb Plant got stopped by Canelo Alvarez, and that was actually the last time Canelo stopped anybody was when he fought Caleb Plant. And he's just trying to, you know, maybe not make Caleb Plant look too bad because he came up short and a guy coming from welterweight didn't. Or it could be him, you know, being a Philly dude just trying to discredit Crawford, you know, because he's a big Boots fan. I don't know. That's my opinion. I could be wrong, but he did pick Crawford to win the fight. So I don't know why he would come out and discredit him now. But nonetheless, this was going to happen. And I'm sure we haven't heard the last of the excuses. I'm sure there's going to be more stuff. They're probably going to come out and say some things about his gloves or that he was on steroids, you know. It's just, it never ends. This is a reoccurring thing for whoever Terence Crawford fights. From Earl Spence to Sean Porter to Kell Brook, Amir Khan, Jeff Horn. Like, there's always something with whoever he beats. Victor Postol, Ricky Burns, you name them, there's an excuse for why he beat him, or they just never were that good, right? this has been the story of Crawford's career, but nonetheless, dude, you have to give him credit no matter what. This is the best fighter of this era, possibly of all time. And it's not even really close of this era. I don't understand how anybody can say anybody else is the best fighter in this era. It's hands down Terence Crawford. The dude's been on the pound for pound list pretty much at number 1 for the last 10 years. Dominating the sport. 3-time undisputed. Nobody has done those things. And to make it even better, he came up 3 weight classes to come beat Canelo at Canelo's best weight when he's the undisputed champion. And Canelo Alvarez, coming into this fight, right, looked in incredible shape. Absolutely incredible shape. I even said on past videos that I have not seen Canelo Alvarez look this good in some time now. Like, physically. And in the ring, he was ripped up too. He may have not been the taller fighter, but he for sure was the little bit thicker fighter in that ring. More sturdy. And he had never lost at 168. But going into this fight, everybody was, saying Canelo's going to knock him out. The weight jump's going to be too much for Crawford. Canelo's power is just going to be too much. Bud is going to tire out because he put on too much weight. There were so many things that were said coming into this fight. And I knew it, that Crawford would beat him. And there would be excuses. That's why I dropped YouTube shorts saying, what's Canelo's excuse going to be? And I named all the excuses from all the other notable fighters on Crawford's resume. And I said, what's going to be Canelo's excuse? But I've heard also from Robert Garcia, who kind of picked Terence Crawford. He was kind of going back and forth. Robert Garcia came out and said maybe Canelo just didn't take him seriously. He didn't take the small Terence Crawford that serious. Maybe that's why he lost. That's BS, because you're fighting the best fighter in boxing. The pound for pound best fighter in the sport. You're not going to take him serious? And it's clear that he did take him serious because he came in phenomenal shape. He brought in Jerome Boots Ennis into his camp to help prepare him for Terence Crawford, right? And everybody made a big deal about that, saying, oh, it's over now. He brought in Boots to help him train. That's just a younger, better Crawford, right? All the things that were said about that whole, situation of Boots coming into camp with Canelo. And to make matters even worse for Canelo, his own trainer, Eddie Reynoso, when they did the grand arrivals, said, you're going to see the best Canelo you've seen ever of the last 20 years. And Canelo's career has been 20 years, all right? So he pretty much said, we're going to see the best Canelo Alvarez we've ever seen. There's just endless excuses for Terence Crawford. And I had listened to some UK guys. I forget the name of their show. One of them is a prominent commentator over there. I don't know their names. I've seen them around quite a bit. But they had something interesting to say. And I didn't agree with everything that I saw on that video. But one of the things that, caught my attention was one of the gentlemen on that show said the way the American media was characterizing this fight for Crawford was as if his legacy would be defined by this fight. If he loses, then that's legacy defining for Terence Crawford. Even though you're talking about a 4-division champion, a 2-time undisputed champion, right? That had to move up 2 weight classes to fight the undisputed super middleweight champion, right? Really, like I said, you could say 3. He only fought 1 time at 154. So I can't imagine that the whole boxing media all over the U.S., they would all be bashing Crawford if he lost this fight. They would say that he lost to a fighter for the first time, or they would say something along the lines of, the first time he fights an elite fighter, he loses. See, he never really was that good, even though he had to go up multiple weight classes to fight him, right? But guess what? He schooled him. He absolutely schooled him. It was not even a competitive fight. The most rounds you could really give Canelo in that fight were 3 rounds. If you're being completely honest. It wasn't competitive. It really wasn't. But it's just crazy how far, the excuses run for whoever Crawford fights. They're never going to give this dude, the credit he deserves. They're never going to give him props. And it's been like this for years and years, pretty much his whole entire career. So again, like I said, it's not surprising at all. But those are my thoughts, man. Let me know what you guys thought. Do you think we're going to hear more Canelo excuses? And what's your take on all that? Do you guys really think Crawford shot Canelo Alvarez? Let me know. Hate, like, comment, subscribe.